Guys, today I'm going to show you an easy marination for a chicken curry. So I have here this much garlic, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 cloves of garlic, this much ginger, and I have about 6 chilies, half a lime. We're going to go ahead, dice all of this, and my chicken is washed and resting here, and we're going to go ahead and add it all together, mix it up and let it rest for 24 hours. We're also going to add salt and any other spice that you want to add, such as black pepper, coriander, but I will tell you guys exactly what I'll be adding in case you want to follow along. So it's just ginger, garlic, chilies, half a lime, and mint, and I'll be also this Nando's sauce, salt, and some yogurt. That's all I will be using. Guys, here we go. I have chopped everything up roughly and it's right here, and now what I'm going to do is use this spoon to scoop up all the juices from my lime. So first I'm going to squish it with my hand. See how much I can get out. See, it's really hard. So if you use a spoon to scoop it up, it will make your life much easier. So guys, here we go. All the lime is squished out, and at this point what I'm going to do is just add just a little bit of salt, because what I do is when I bring my meat fresh chicken, what I do is I wash it, I salt it, and then I put it in the fridge. That helps it stay fresh for longer and also helps it retain that salt flavor. So that's why at this point I'm not going to add too much salt, also because this seasoning has salt in it, and also because while I'll be cooking the curry, I'll be adding a lot more salt, so I don't want it to be too salty. So I'm gonna go ahead, add a little bit of sauce, add this sauce, and then add my leftover yogurt sauce. This is my leftover yogurt sauce. It's just mint with yogurt, some water, and some salt. So this also has salt, which is why I don't want to use too much salt, because I don't want the chicken to be too salty. So I'm gonna add everything in here and then go ahead and add my chicken and mix it away. Here we go, guys. So I'm gonna add my Nando's sauce. There we go. I would say that's a spoon and a half to a full spoon. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add some salt. I'm gonna add the sauce on top of the Nando's sauce so you can see how much I add the salt. So you see, I've added very little salt. Now I'm gonna go ahead, add my chicken to this and let it marinate for 24 hours. And you can add some turmeric at this point if you want the color to be stronger, but I think that the Nando sauce will make the color quite strong. And this is all we will be using and letting it marinate for 24 hours in the fridge. So guys, today we're gonna go ahead and cook that chicken that we had marinated last night. So this has been marinating for 24 hours. In here we have fresh mint, lots of ginger, lots of garlic, and the key ingredient is the Nando's medium spice hot sauce mix. And so what we need right now, this is 1 2 3 4 5 chilies, about this much garlic, about this much ginger, 4 garlic cloves, 5 big onions, and 4, there's one more over there, 4 tomatoes. And basically this is going to be a fusion on the traditional Karayi, because for traditional Karayi they don't marinate it before, but I have marinated before with some other sauces, so it's a little different than traditional Indian Karayi. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay guys, so I have all the ingredients prepped here. So I'll start with the 5 onions. So I've just chopped them like so. For the 4 tomatoes, I have diced them into cubes. This is my chicken that was marinating for 24 hours. I have here some tomato paste just for a little bit of color if we need it. And here, what do I have for the spices? Ginger, garlic. This is curry powder with some chicken Karayi powder. This is salt, half a tablespoon of coriander, a tablespoon of zira powder, a tablespoon of turmeric, and this is about 5 green chilies. This is for garnish on top, so if you see I have cut it longer, so this is for garnish on top. and also some of the peppers. So guys, this is all the ingredients that you need right here. That's my salt there, just if I need to add any more salt. And guys, add salt to taste. This is all the spices that I will be using. So here we go. This is my oil. I have it here. I have my pan on medium, so I'm gonna go ahead, put the oil in here and just let it cover the bottom of the pan. There we go. That's enough, I think. Well, my thing is almost done, so I'm gonna just pour all of it. So I would say it's about half a cup of oil, because we will be like cooking everything in the same oil and we won't be adding any more oil. So half a cup should be decent. If you want it less oily, then add less oil, but it might make it harder for your onions to caramelize. So what we will do first is add these spices into the oil for about 30 seconds to let them really fry up. So guys, the reason why I add my spices first into the oil is because I want the oil to cook these spices a little so that their natural smell comes out, and when they fry a bit, it actually ends up making the oil really delicious and makes the actual flavors of these spices come out without it getting diluted by the water from the onions if I were to add the onions first. So that's the only reason why I add my spices first. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and put the heat on 4, just because I want the spices to start frying in the oil before I go ahead and add my onions. And so just mix it around and leave it in the oil for about 30 seconds. Right now, as you see, my oil is not that hot, so I'm gonna wait until my oil is hot and these spices start sizzling, and then I will go ahead and add my onions. Guys, it's been about a minute because my oil was cold. I didn't want to put my spices in while the oil was too hot because I didn't want it to splash. So now my spices are really starting to crispen up. I can smell them. They smell delicious. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and put in my onion. And guys, the smell right now is amazing. As the onion hits that hot oil, I can smell all the spices and it smells delicious. And right now, as you see this pot, you might think that, whoa, this is too much onions. But trust me, when you're making a curry, when you're making a korma, the more onions you have, the more delicious of a sauce you will have, because we are going to be caramelizing all of these onions. So what you do is just gently mix it around until they're all mixed in that oil, and let it caramelize, but don't let it burn. So guys, at this point, it's been about 5 minutes of me having my onion on heat number 5 or 4. I keep switching back and forth depending on how sticky it gets in the bottom, because I don't want the bottom to catch. And as you can see, the onions are caramelizing beautifully. They are becoming a very golden brown color, but I want them to welt further. And after my onions are caramelized to the point that I want, that golden caramelly sticky stage, then we're gonna go ahead and add our chicken. So in my karayi, I'm going to be adding the chicken before I add the tomatoes, because I want the chicken to cook with the onion, with the water of the onion, because the chicken will have water come out from itself as well, and I just don't want the tomatoes to get diluted and lost in all that water. Okay guys, so it's been about 10 minutes that I have let my onion go ahead and caramelize. I put the heat down to 2 so that the bottom would not burn. At this point, I still wanted to caramelize a little further, and as you can see, the amount of onions that we had was up to like here, but now it's gone down here because it's cooking, it's caramelizing, and you see how the bottom is catching a little. That's okay, but to stop that from happening further, what I'm gonna do is actually I'm gonna cover the top of the onions and let it simmer for 2 minutes while it's covered, so that the natural water from the onion comes out and helps the onion caramelize further, but also helps stop the bottom from catching and getting burned. And once that's ready and I feel like it's good enough, I'm gonna go ahead and add my chicken. So I would say do it for another 2 to 3 minutes depending on how caramelized you want it, and then go ahead and add your chicken. So guys, it's been about 5 minutes. I extended the time that I covered the top. I'm gonna go ahead and open it, and at this point I feel that it is ready for me to go ahead and add my chicken. So I'm gonna give it a really good stir before I go ahead and I add my chicken. And you can do this as well to get the scrapings off the bottom to make sure that it doesn't burn too much. And so guys, I'm gonna go ahead and put my marinated chicken, which has ginger, garlic, fresh mint, some mint powder, about 3 tablespoons of yogurt, and we let it marinate for 24 hours. So guys, make sure you mix it in really well that most of the onions come on top. And at this point, the key is to let it cook slowly. So we're gonna put the heat to 2 and close the top for 15 minutes. And you can come check in between. So guys, it's been about 10 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it and see what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so as you see, the water from the chicken has started to come out. So what this will do is stop us from needing to add more water to help the chicken cook. And at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and mix it. Make sure that the chicken that's in the bottom comes on top and the one that's on top goes in the bottom, so that everything cooks evenly. And go ahead and cover it for another 5 to 10 minutes until I feel like it's really cooked enough. And then we can go ahead, leave the top open so that it bubbles and the water starts to evaporate, and then go ahead and add our tomatoes. So I'm gonna mix it up, cover the top again for another 10 minutes, and then come and check and see if we're ready to let the water evaporate and add the tomatoes. So I'm gonna be doing that right now. So guys, it's been 15 minutes and I checked in between to make sure that the bottom doesn't burn, and I turned it inside out, the chicken, so that the top goes to the bottom. And so at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and open the top, and you see how it's bubbling. The color has become this beautiful golden brown. So at this point, I'm gonna just turn it, make sure that the stuff that's in the bottom comes on top and the top goes to the bottom. You see that color is beautiful, and the chicken is literally falling apart. So this means that it's really cooked through. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is keep the top open for about 5 minutes until most of this water evaporates, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my tomatoes. And I don't think I'm going to add any tomato paste because the color is just so beautiful, but we will find out. So guys, it's been about 5 minutes. As you can see, it's bubbling up a lot, and the purpose of us letting some of the water dry out at this point from the sauce is because we're going to add the tomatoes, and the tomatoes are going to have more water that comes out. So we don't want the sauce to be too watery. And then at the same time, if your chicken is still a little hard, it's okay at this point, because once we add the onion now, once we add the tomato now, what that's gonna do is create more water, which means more water for the chicken to cook in. But as you can see, at this point, the chicken is pretty cooked. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my tomatoes in at this point and cover the top for another 5 minutes, and then come and check and see how it's doing, and then try to reduce some of that sauce after the tomatoes have cooked in and mixed with the chicken, so that we have a nice gravy like sauce, not too watery, guys. And of course, check to make sure the bottom doesn't catch. So here we go, guys. I've just added the tomatoes. It looks beautiful beside that brownish reddish color of my sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix this in. So as you can see, I have mixed it in really well, and at this point I'm gonna go ahead and put the heat to 4 because the tomato has water, so that the water of the tomatoes starts coming out faster, and so that the tomatoes start caramelizing and mixing in with the onions faster. And as you can see, at this point we can hardly see the onions because they have caramelized so well, and at the beginning what looked like a lot of onions, now we can hardly see it, and this is what's going to give us that delicious consistency for the sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover the top, and at this point I have tasted it, and I like the salt the way it is for us. And at this point you can also taste the salt and see how it is, but I would say hold off until the tomatoes are caramelized and mixed in the sauce well. So guys, it's been 5 minutes, so I'm just coming to check on it, make sure that the bottom doesn't burn, and wow, you see how much water has come out from the tomatoes? That's what we want. This has further cooked our chicken. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mix it all and see if we can let some of the water evaporate. So at this point the chicken is cooked enough, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep the top open and let some of this water bubble away and evaporate so that we can get ready and serve. And this might take 2 to 3 minutes for the water to evaporate, but don't let it evaporate all the way because you still want it to be a little saucy, right? You still want it to be a little saucy, and at the same time you don't want it to be too watery. So let the water evaporate for about 3 minutes and decide how saucy you want it to be, and then it's ready. You can go ahead and serve it. So guys, it's ready. I've turned the heat off. It smells delicious, it looks delicious. I'm going to go ahead and plate it, and I would say get a plate that is a little like almost like a bowl, like, you know, almost curved, so that the sauce from the curry doesn't run out at the edges. That's why I'm not using my flat plate. So I'm gonna go ahead and start serving it. And so here we go guys, I'm gonna go ahead and garnish it with some of that ginger that we had and some of that fresh pepper, and there you have it guys. And here it is guys, chicken karayi fusion style, a mix of Indian and Afghan flavors. Try it out, let me know what you think. It's super easy, saucy, delicious. So enjoy.